You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves look lifeless in the second half. They dropped their fifth straight game, this time at home to Golden State, 111-85. That's the final tonight. What's going on back in the lab, back at it? Another postcast, T-Wolves, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, thanks to you guys, the #1 sports podcast network. I got Jack Borman live at the Target Center, Wolves expert, NBA expert. Give him a follow on X at Jared Borman13, Luke Imman at Luke_Spinman. And, of course, go follow our guy, Ben Deacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show each and every day as well. Lots to get into here, Jack. What we're second-guessing the most from this one, biggest turning point from tonight, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow. But just off the top, man, desperately trying to, snap this 4-game skid, obviously. You got back-to-back at home against a, Jimmy Butler-less Warriors team and a chance to kind of get your mojo back. And, by and large, we'll get into it. Sure, they had some spurts of life, but by and large, this looked like a kind of lifeless, flat, lethargic team again tonight, and really starts to kind of bring some doubt, some worry, some red flags, if you will, about this team when you're losing your fifth straight in that type of fashion. I know things were weighing kind of heavy today at the Target Center. Both Finch and Steve Kerr spoke to media about that postponement from yesterday. Thoughts on that, I guess, and obviously knee-jerk reaction from the game at hand tonight as well, Jack. What do you got?
Yeah, it was a really heavy day at Target Center. You could feel it in the crowd, especially in the second half. I just think the crowd didn't really have it in them to boo the Timberwolves in the same way that I think that they might have otherwise, because I think people here really understood the situation. Obviously, really tough to even play a basketball game today, even with the postponement for a lot of these guys. Both coaches spoke pregame. Just about their love for this city, the people here in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, and really just express their sadness about what transpired here yesterday and in recent weeks. Chris Finch was visibly emotional and during his opening statement that he gave to the media for second time he's made a statement in as many weeks. Now he said, quote, "As an organization, we are heartbroken for what we are having to witness and endure." He continued later by saying, "We just want to extend our thoughts, prayers, and concern for Mr. Pretty's family, all the loved ones, and everyone involved in such an unconscionable situation in a community that we really love, full of people who are, by nature, peaceful and prideful." And he also, was given an opportunity to talk about the fact that he's a resident here and what his experience has been like. And he went a level further and said, that Minneapolis is his home and that he loves being a part of this community, plays an active role, especially with Second Harvest Heartland, or Second Heart. I might be butchering the name of that, but he's really active in the community. And Steve Kerr also spoke glowingly about his stops in Minneapolis over the years on the NBA kind of tour, as he called it. Said that the Minnesota Nice is real, and he said on Saturday that he spoke with not only Chris Finch but with Joe Ingles as well, who provided kind of the perspective of the Timberwolves players, and spoke about, just how difficult it was going to be for them to try to be able to play a game yesterday, and playing a game 24 hours later doesn't necessarily do a lot to, I think, remove the hurt that a lot of players were feeling, no doubt, everyone else in this building. And so, I think that between Finch and Ingles, we're very communicative with Kerr and said, hey, postponing this is probably in the best interest of everybody here. And Kerr and the Warriors were 100% supportive of that decision. And so, just a really heavy day. There was a moment of silence pregame, memory of Alex Pretty that, I think, people in the building and players were appreciative of that transpired. I think just with all that in the building, it's really hard to come out and play a basketball game. And I think it was just kind of a chaotic start to this game. And the first half was just kind of all over the place for the Timberwolves. I mean, they reached 10 turnovers before they reached 10 made shots. Not something you see very often in an NBA game. And it was unfortunate, for the Timberwolves. It felt like only two guys got off the bus to play this game Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards, who combined for 54 points in this game, but they also combined for 10 turnovers in this first half. So it's tough to say, nobody else helped them, but they also made plenty of mistakes themselves. And Jaden, Nas both scored 0 points in the first half. Julius scored the first bucket of the game and then score the rest of the half after that. The Warriors took 31 threes in the first half, which was insane. That's only the 13th time a team in the NBA this season has taken that many and a half. Like 65% of their shot attempts came from three. And the Wolves just couldn't really muster a whole lot by the way of consistent offensive production, but they did end the half on a 10-0 run, which I think was helpful. Got some life in the building, and you were kind of thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be a really cool win for the Timberwolves considering the circumstances. But things just didn't work out too well for them in the second half, and Timberwolves lost a lot of key areas that we normally see them find success in, whether it was points off of turnovers, fast break points, paint points. I don't know what they ended up finishing with tonight. They ended up finishing with 24 points in the paint. That's their fewest in any game this season, which is pretty brutal considering the NBA average is about twice that. So, and then another game, Luke, where the bench just couldn't really muster anything. Before things, Chris Finch emptied the bench with about 5 minutes left in this game. Was 32-7 in bench points. So just not much went right today for the Timberwolves.
Let's get into the biggest second guess from tonight, Jack.
Since hindsight is always 20/20, let's deliver today's second guess.
Yeah, biggest second guess tonight, Jack. I feel like you could really go a variety of different ways, but in such a embarrassing, frustrating loss, so flat, so lethargic, at home no less. But if I made you pick one, I guess biggest second guess tonight from the Wolves, the way this one played out.
Yeah, I have two of them for you, Luke. I was in Golden State last year in San Francisco for those playoff games, and it was just a thorough domination from Julius Randle in all of those games when he was matched up against Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, whether it was isolation on the wing or in the corner, and then he'd kind of crab dribble his way down into the low block, where he just went to work and he was dominant in the low post in those games. And neither of those two guys, two of the best defenders of their generation, especially for players of Randall's caliber and his type, just big, physical, strong dudes. He dominated that whole series. And that was probably the biggest reason why the Timberwolves won that series, was him winning both of those matchups individually. And they didn't post him up a single time in this game that I can remember. He played in the middle of the floor pretty much the entire game, and it did not work out well for him. I think his only playing in the middle of the floor is working if he's both taking and making threes and spraying it out to the corners of the wings and finding success there. And he did the second part of that. He just didn't do the first part of it. He was 0 of 4 from 3 in this game, and just struggled to get his mid-range shot to go, kind of in between the elbows like we are used to seeing Julius Randle do. And I just thought it was an oversight that he didn't play more on the low block, and they didn't try to clear out the corner and just let him isolate from there and kind of dare the Warriors to double him. It's not something that they normally do necessarily in the post, considering that they have a lot of bigger guys like that can defend one-on-one. Maybe not people as strong as Julius Randle, but those types of players. And so I thought that was unfortunate. And the Wolves are 5th this season in post-up efficiency in terms of points per possession. Golden State's 22nd, so that should have been an advantage for them on paper that they didn't really take much advantage of, which was unfortunate. And then I thought the defense on Stephen Curry just kind of spoke to what's been a larger problem for the Timberwolves the last couple of weeks, just defending opposing team stars, right? You think that with having a guy like Jaden McDaniels, covered by a guy like Rudy Gobert right behind him, that they would have more success guarding stars. But I think because of that, the Timberwolves are more reluctant to throw a second or a third or a fourth coverage at opposing stars in ways that, we've seen happen to Steph Curry his entire career. And they just had Jaden playing him straight up, trailing him in single coverage and dribble handoffs and screens, And that's an area where Jaden has struggled for the majority of this season. He's been much better down low as a rim protector than an on-ball defender. And I thought Jaden actually did a pretty good job on Curry in the first half. I think he started 2 of 8 from the floor. But again, he was still efficient as a playmaker. He had a decent number of assists there in the first half, ended up with 7 assists tonight to just 2 turnovers. And he wasn't making a lot of his threes either. It was just 3 of 10 from there. But again, I don't know how much of that was shot quality versus him just missing shots. I just thought the fact that they didn't really try gap helping off of Steph and forcing some of Golden State's others to make threes. I mean, when you consider that Golden State was 16 of 51 from 3, you would have liked to see other guys continue to shoot more threes rather than have Steph have the ball in his hands. And so I just didn't really think that between not gap helping, they didn't double him, they didn't blitz or trap him, they didn't box and one him, which you see other teams try to do a decent amount. Was just unfortunate. And I think, again, Curry only had 26 today. We know he's capable of way more than that. I think he had like 43 in his last game. Keontae George had 43 points for the Jazz the other night. Wemby had 39. Fox had 25 in San Antonio. Durant had 39 in that game in Houston. And then you had Mitchell, Mobley, and Garland combined for 74 in Cleveland. The Wolves just have not done a good job of defending opposing stars of late, and today was another example of that.
Yeah, great breakdown there. A lot of frustrations to be had. A lot of red flags here, as we're pointing out as well. Plenty more deep dive from this one. Biggest turning point, and then what we'll be talking about tomorrow. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. Ever go check your bank account and go, where'd my money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. So easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, your spending. It's all in one place, so you stop just managing your money, and instead, you start building some wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA, getting half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season, and why I love it. So easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players. You pick more or less on their projected stats. Could be points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, Jack, before we get into what we'll be talking about, let's get into the biggest turning point from tonight.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Just kind of frustrating. They go on this great 10-0 run to end halftime. They go into the locker room. You're only down 1. You're thinking, okay, got a little juice back there. We got some life again, a little bit, momentum, I guess, Jack. And then they come out in the third quarter with just such lackluster energy. And from there, it just felt like kind of a total free-for-all collapse, I guess, for the most part. Would you agree?
Yeah, no question about it. I think it was a tough sign that the Wolves had 16 turnovers in that first half, season high for them in any half this season. Again, I don't know if I mentioned it. They had 10 turnovers in the first quarter of this game, which is abhorrent. Yeah. And the Wolves are really lucky that at halftime, Golden State only had 11 points off of 16 turnovers because they were just really hunting threes off of turnovers in that first half and just weren't knocking them down. I think they were 8 of 31 at halftime. And so the Wolves are really fortunate to only be down 1 at the break, considering that Curry, too, was also missing shots. But, again, keeping the context of a season high in turnovers in mind, they come right out. They have 2 really quick turnovers that led to 2 Brandon Podziemski layups on the other end. And Podziemski hadn't done a whole lot in the first half, but that kind of got him going as a guy that can be a really solid secondary ball handler. Besides Steph Curry, and he ended up having a really nice second half for them. And so definitely unfortunate that the Timberwolves just weren't able to kind of correct that mistake, and that just kind of started the snowball down the mountain, which I think just became problematic for them for the rest of the game, right? I mean, at the end of the third quarter, the Timberwolves were sitting on 22 turnovers, which was coming into tonight was their season high in turnovers for an entire game. So I just think when you struggle that way, turning the ball over in the first half, and then you have you've miraculously gone this 10-0 run entering or to close the second quarter. Everybody in the building's really fired up, and you come back out and there's just not a whole lot there. I think it's just unfortunate. And that was just kind of the way it was for the Timberwolves. I think that they lost. It was 38-17 in the third quarter, and the Wolves as a team outscored Guy Santos and Brandon Podziemski by just 2 points in the third quarter. And I think if you're outscoring those two guys by just 2 points in a quarter, your chances of winning that ball game are probably not going to be too high. And that's no disrespect to them.
Yeah,
that's just, I mean, you're just looking at the numbers and the averages of how those two guys score the ball over the course of a game is just unfortunate. And I think, again, it's really hard for me to just rip players considering the circumstances in this game. I think with everything that's been going on and transpiring in this city, I think there's so much pressure on these guys to come out and perform for so many people that are using sports, as rightly and understandably so, as an escape and a way to kind of come together in a way that I think everybody desperately wants to be able to. And I think that weighs heavier on players than fans may think, because they're humans just like you and me and everybody in the comments. And just because they make millions of dollars and have these different lives than we do doesn't mean that human element is removed. And so yes, it's a bummer that they scored a season low 85 points and ended that streak of scoring like 100 or 110 games in a row or something like that in the regular season of scoring over 100 points. But I just think that it's really hard for me to sit here today and just tear into these guys for not having requisite energy. And I think for me, I kind of just chalk this up to it's 1 of 82. And, these guys have an opportunity to come back tomorrow. I would be, Steve Kerr said before the game that DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford, both of whom are not playing back-to-backs this season, coming off of injuries, that both of them will not play tomorrow. Steph Curry was a true game time decision and was able to go in this game, but was limping at different points on his left leg. And he came into today with right knee soreness. So we'll see if Steph plays tomorrow, but it's just unfortunate that the Wolves weren't able to keep it closer than they did in this game and kind of bring that same energy that they closed the second quarter with out of the locker room into the third quarter.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. I know a lot of different topics to be had today, especially after the postponement from yesterday. But you're right, Jack. A lot of human element stuff that you're just never going to see in the box score when you wake up. Let's get into what we'll be talking about tomorrow.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Losers of 5 straight, an ugly 5 in a row for the most part, by and large as well. Total free fall in the Western Conference standings right now. Less than 2 weeks before the trade deadline, and obviously subsequently the All-Star break shortly after that as well. Where do we go from here, man? What should we be talking about, I guess, tomorrow after this one?
Yeah, I think that for the Timberwolves, now I think the attention just shifts to, okay, you've lost 5 in a row. Really unfortunate timing to lose 5 in a row, considering just some other injury stuff that's going on in the West, and the standings being as close as they are. But I think it gives them an opportunity to say, hey, like what do we need the most right now? Do we need? I would argue that they need bench scoring the most right now, and might cause them to try to force their attention to bringing somebody in who's a little bit more offensively tilted than defensively tilted, whether it's on the wing or in the backcourt. I think you're going to be thinking about that. I think you're going to be thinking about, when is TJ Shannon going to come back? Is he going to be able to come back before they make a trade, or is it going to be after they make a trade? And if that's the case, then you may have 2 guys that are a little bit more offensively tilted coming back into coming into the fold. So I think, it's a good thing that they have lost 5 in a row before the deadline and had an opportunity to just kind of audit and understand where they need to be better. I will just say this team for the majority of the season has been top 10 in offensive rating, top 10 in defensive rating. They've been better than their record indicates, for my money. And we've seen what Anthony Edwards can do in the playoffs. We've seen what Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels can do in the playoffs. We've seen Dante DiVincenzo do it in the playoffs. We've seen Julius Randle do it in the playoffs in a Timberwolves jersey. We've seen Rudy Gobert had 27 and 24 to knock the Lakers out of the playoffs. Like, I know people want to be upset about the regular season, and that's totally fine. I'm not telling people how to be fans. You're free to do that as you wish, but I just think that there's enough of a sample size for me to not be super worried about this team once we get to the playoffs. But I do think it's totally fair to poke holes in where the Timberwolves are in the standings and what their playoff path might look like and how they've gotten in their own way in that regard. But I do think that it's good that this is happening before the trade deadline, so they have an opportunity to kind of audit things and make improvements as they wish.
Yeah, high ceiling, low floor. Take that for what it is. Great stuff per usual, Jack. Live at the Target Center. T-Wolves free falling right now in the standings as they lose their 5th straight tonight. 111-85. That's your final versus Golden State. 27-19 now on the year, 8 games above 500. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. Like and subscribe. If you haven't already, go follow Jack as well at JRBorman13. We're back tomorrow night, back at home, taking on Golden State again for round 2. Late one, 8:30 p.m. tip. Until then, appreciate all you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Signing out.